And I'm Richard.
and we are Emerge by Design, and we are coming to you today, Tuesday, February 25th, to talk not only about the transits, so thanks for having me on this transit report that Richard usually does by himself, but to also talk about the moon.
Yes, the new moon in Pisces happening on Thursday, February 27th at 5:44 p.m. Mountain
Mm-hmm.
Time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, wow, it is quite a new moon we are in for.
Yeah.
Pisces.
A lot of opportunities to find ourselves.
Yes, I would say that's a good lead in.
Yeah. To find better alignment, right? Not like we're lost, but to
Yeah,
to touch in within ourselves.
yeah, we're going to be feeling a lot,
Yeah,
most likely.
yeah. Well, take us there.
Yeah, let's take a look at the chart
Let's
and
see.
see what symbolism we can pull from this for the month, the lunar month ahead.
And if you'd like, please subscribe. It really helps us grow. It helps, we're just now catching the algorithm. So your likes, your engagements, your shares, your comments, even if it's just what came alive in you when you heard this, really, really helps us. So thanks
Thank
for
you for
that.
that. Yeah, absolutely. So here we have the astrological chart on the right and the human design body graph on the left. And both these charts are run for the exact minute of that new moon.
Mm-hmm.
Even before we get into this chart, just as a little bit of a review of our last lunar cycle. Okay, so a month ago we had the new moon in Aquarius, and it was in gate 19. And I'm going to annotate here so we can take a look at the body graph and see that the new moon was here.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks after the new moon, we had a full moon in gate 4 here, but the sun himself was in gate 49. So the entire lunar cycle, we were really oriented around the channel of synthesis, a design of being sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tribal archetype speaking to our experience of the needs we have that
Yeah.
other people have and how we can come together and be sensitive to those needs.
And as we can all sense and feel in the world around us, our bargains, the things that we've always depended on and leaned on for our stability in the world, it's crumbling,
Mm-hmm.
it's changing. When I say crumbling, I don't mean to cause fear, but it is doing exactly what it's supposed to do in its invitation to inviting us to know that we have everything that we need in
Mm-hmm.
order to survive, that we no longer have to depend on the structures that are here. The
Mm-hmm.
1949 is the creator of structures so that we can, or, part of the tribal experience that creates the structures
Mm-hmm.
that allow us to get our food, sex, and territory needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very needed and appropriate in the time in which it's been alive and here. And it is in now a mutative phase
Mm-hmm.
where this moon cycle has shown all of us in a lot of different ways how our bargains are not really meeting our needs anymore,
Mm-hmm.
how our bargains get to be adjusted. We don't just move from knowing that it's not right into it being right again. There's a process that we get to go through to allow ourselves to tune into our authority and our body's wisdom being the thing that gets those needs met
Mm-hmm.
instead of the world around us.
Yeah, beautifully shared. We are in a process of evolution for sure
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
And there are so many big astrological topics to talk about. Of course, I'll keep updating everyone as I go through my weekly transit report. We've got Neptune changing signs very soon. We've got Uranus and Jupiter. We already had Pluto changing
Mm-hmm,
signs.
mm-hmm.
And then we have some other astrological aspects happening. Mars with Pluto, which we're going to be heading in toward the third phase of that. That will be unfolding over the next couple months. So just to say, there's a lot on the table right now astrologically. Um, but even just looking at this lunar cycle, I think really is going to prepare us
Mm-hmm.
for some of these big shifts that are coming,
Yeah.
which speak to what you're sharing, that our agreements, our expectations, our needs, how we're dealing with all of them is changing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And these are incremental changes. It's something that's happening over this mutative cycle that we're going to keep revisiting these
Hmm.
energies, and there's going to be a cycle of one foot, like you say, one foot in front of the other, just becoming aware of. So when you hear us speak about this lunar cycle and all of the things that are
Hmm.
going on, it is just a one step in the steps of mutation all the way to whatever is coming.
Yeah, and it's wonderful for us to be able to use the astrology and the human design to orient
Yeah.
ourselves to what the frequencies of the planets are saying to us. They are speaking to us as above, so below. And we can look at the body graph, as we will do here in this recording, and talk about the symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I look to be more aware?
Mm-hmm.
It really provides context and texture
Mm-hmm.
to the outer world experiences that we're going through, all of which are offering an invitation and opportunity for us to know ourselves better,
Right.
to settle into our sense of truth and creative potential that we all carry as a human being,
Yeah.
but where we can find that in our chart for support and stability.
And we are all humans going through this human experience and being affected by the transits, no matter how awake, aware, aligned
Hmm.
we are, they are affecting us. And so these things that change in the world around us that we're watching, these emotions that we feel coming in and out of our body, we are learning. This process is inviting us into regulation, into stability, into remembering that there is a truth in your body, just like there's a truth in the tree outside's body that says grow this way until it's finished. There's also a truth in our body that says grow this way. And to stay attuned to it and stay connected with it is why we come on here and talk to you every
Hmm.
day about these transits. It's not that we're going to predict some movement in our life, or we are going to make some proclamation about this is going to happen then. It just gives us an awareness so that we can stay regulated. I mean, I myself, these past couple of weeks, have been feeling this emotional waves, and sometimes all I can do is sit and remember who I am and breathe.
Hmm.
But it doesn't mean that, my awareness, my awakenedness keeps me from that.
Hmm.
It just allows me to be awakened to the bigger truth that also
Hmm.
exists.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's why we, every week when Richard comes on here, and whenever it is I do, this is really the message that we're sending, is that um, we are here to lock arms and to be allies with one another in this remembering and regulation through all of what we have come to depend on changing.
Hmm. Yeah, well, very well shared.
Mm.
Thank you for that. As we're sharing, it's very solar plexus oriented, and that's what we're going to dig into right now. So yeah, we mentioned that we had the 1949, the channel of sensitivity, and what led to our initial discussion here. And what's happening at this Pisces new moon in the body graph is the sun is in gate 37, putting the Earth in its opposition polarity to the Sun in gate 40. Now, in the human design body graph and the 64 hexagrams or gates and the 36 channels, three of those channels are formed by oppositions in the wheel, and the 3740 is one of them. And this is also a tribal channel. It's called the
Hmm.
channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. And in circuitry, another human design term, the way this energy flows is through that 1949 that we were really dealing with last lunar cycle, and it moves right up into this channel of community.
And let me say this for people who don't really know human design but do know astrology. What he is saying is that we feel pressure as a human being from this 19. It starts there. This
Hmm.
pressure to be alive. And the pressure to be alive is food, sex, and territory. That's
Hmm.
really what aliveness has been for us mammals.
Yeah.
And so this energy is the pressure to stay alive and connect with others in order to achieve that aim of all of us staying alive.
Yeah.
That is the energy that is being brought to us through these planet placements in the astrology.
And since we're talking about what we call tribal frequency, tribal energy, tribal channels, we're talking about support, how we support each other, how do we take care of our families and friends,
Hmm.
um, and loyalty, right? These are deep blood bonds that we're
Hmm.
talking about, and that's why we may see it so prevalent as we go through this lunar cycle. These experiences,
Hmm.
exchanges we have with people where this thematic is really what we're seeing at work.
Yeah.
How we're going to connect, bond, support, have loyalty to each other so that we can grow and develop and have all the food, shelter, and education and support that we need. And
Yeah.
we can see that the world, we need to grow and evolve as a planet right
Mm-hmm.
now in these
Mm-hmm.
areas. So that's the sun and the earth. Now, let me just kind of pan out a little bit and just bring some other important elements, and then we'll break it down in our discussion here. But as we look to the astrological wheel, oh my goodness, if we look at the sign of Pisces, look at this pileup of activations. We have the sun and moon always conjunct at the new moon, and that is in gate 37. We have Saturn in Pisces in gate 22. This is a very important element to our story. We'll come back to him. At Mercury, and here's Mercury, I'm sorry, it's Venus. Here's Mercury in gate 36.
Mm.
And we have the North Node, and here's our North and South Node in gate 36. We have the North Node in Pisces. And then lastly, we also have Neptune, who's I mentioned will be changing signs very soon. Neptune down here in gate 25. So when you look at the body graph and we have all of the activations on the right side of it, there are 13 activations there. 6 of them are in what we call the solar plexus, all right here. This is the center of our feelings, our emotional chemistry, our relationships,
Mm-hmm.
experience. I mean, so much of life itself is wrapped up in the theme of the solar plexus.
Gosh, and if we just look at what you've circled and create stories about this, we can start at the top and talk about our emotional connection to the loved ones that we have in our life. Do
Mhm,
we, in line 5 here, do we love them purely? Or is that dependence that we felt on them creating a sense of hatred?
mhm.
And where in the spectrum are we at? So, in our emotional development, we are being asked to really look at who we give our loving support to, and are we doing it out of codependency or not?
That's a big question right now.
And the people that are coming through this nodal environment, 36-6, this crisis chaos experience, transitoriness, let me taste that, let me have this experience. And Mercury also being there in the
Mhm,
third line,
mhm,
it could say that when those people that come in your life that either you truly love and you feel that feeling of true love, or you are loving because there's a familial dependency on that relationship, that's when this there's going to be an experience,
mhm,
something. And so your voice, this Mercury, this message of the mind, in crisis, learns how to regulate
mhm,
and says, you know, I do, the love that I feel for you is pure, and with one that maybe could be a codependent resentment,
mhm.
we can learn language to be able to share that with ourselves. It's not time, I don't think, to share with others. It's about really learning ourselves what it is that we feel about the progression of our emotional intelligence
Yeah.
with these family members. And with Saturn in 22, it's telling us either do it now or not, but this caution, to be able to allow the moodiness and to just let people know if it's not time to share, or all I'm doing right now is breathing and there's nothing else to come from my mouth, because I know that what may come from my mouth might not be progressive, might not be something that I want to move forward with
Yeah.
in this 37 relationship.
Mhm,
And then 25 in Neptune, this ability for all of that to come through and show the innocence of myself.
mhm.
You know what? I didn't ask for this familial relationship. I didn't ask for the way that the world is right now, but I do exist within it. So, what is myself here? I think through the regulation of that experience that you just shared in Pisces.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, beautifully shared there. Yeah, I do want to come back to that Saturn you mentioned there. As I've been poring over this chart and
Mm-hmm.
contemplating, where we're at in the terms of these movements of planets, Saturn came through Gate 22 in Pisces and turned retrograde, and is now moving through Gate 22 for the third time. And we call Saturn the taskmaster. He is Father Time. He is a planet that is not always patting us on the back, but he does love us and he wants us to find wisdom and
Yeah.
maturity through experience. And so he brings restructuring.
Hmm.
Wherever we see Saturn, we know that there's a life lesson for us, all of us, with this activation in this emotional gate of individual expression.
Hmm.
And because he's moving through this archetype for the third time, we might find that this is where we can really find some movement in terms of that restructuring. And
Hmm.
as you're sharing in these relationship dynamics during this lunar cycle, to watch what we're feeling, to
Yeah.
just be with it, to
Hmm.
hold ourselves. We always encourage following our personal authority, which for 50% of humanity is the solar plexus, but for the other half, it's found somewhere else in the chart. But deeply grounding ourselves in that,
Hmm.
because that's where we can stand in our voice of truth with stability to meet whatever emotional dynamic is going on in the
That's
greater
right.
world right now. But lastly, just to say that with Saturn in this particular archetype of individual emotional expression, we're here to learn through these feelings and not to let them derail our life
That's
or
right.
make us feel that life's horrible and I'm miserable and unhappy. But we are brought wisdom with Saturn expressing his frequency of growth and development in our emotional expression right now.
Hmm.
And so I just am expecting that we're all going to have opportunities where we will
Yeah.
feel sensitive. We may feel resentment. We may feel others looking at us thinking we're not loyal or we haven't been there for them.
Hmm.
But this is all happening so that we can learn something right now.
Yeah. And it's alignment. Something that was really helpful in my journey and is helpful with the people we work with is to talk about alignment, not rejection.
Hmm.
And to talk about how our bodies, our electric, our electromagnetic fields of our bodies know exactly the right place and space and time to be in to support our greatest evolution.
Hmm.
And so when we feel inside as if something isn't for us, or we have the experience of feeling rejected or rejection from the outside world, to remember that there is an alignment that is taking place in your body when you've surrendered your mind's authority to your body. There is an alignment that's taking place, and your mind might not always agree with it. Actually, will probably not ever agree with it,
Hmm.
but your body knows the way, and then your mind will see, after you have followed and grounded yourself in the truth of your body's wisdom, your mind will see the next right step. And the more your mind gets behind that movement and that wisdom of your body, the more then your mind supports and stops bullying the decisions that it makes. So to remember right now, before your mind has caught up with your absolute innate body's intelligence that takes care of you and nurtures you at every step of the way, when your mind is still bullying you, you get to remember that the places and spaces and people and things that you are moving away from or that are moving away from you is about alignment. It's
Hmm.
not about rejection. It's
Hmm.
not about you have done anything bad, wrong, and shameful. In fact, you have probably done the best thing for your evolutionary growth, which will show itself in time when you continue to sustain that belief.
Hmm. Hmm. Beautiful words there. So much Pisces. It also makes me
Yeah.
think about this frequency of Pisces.
Hmm.
To Pisces is mutable water. I think of the oceans.
Right.
I think of the endless depths, the mystery, the mystical, the spiritual.
Hmm.
These are wonderful frequencies to tap into right now.
Hmm.
When we're in Pisces, we're sort of 1 foot in reality and 1 foot out of reality. This is the land of Neptune. Neptune is beyond the boundary of Saturn, so it gives us this sense of its
Yeah.
limitlessness, and that can be supportive as we navigate sometimes turbulent emotional waters.
Right.
Another thing that's going on I want to add to our conversation is that Mars has finally turned forward in Cancer,
Hmm.
having been in retrograde since December 6th. It's been in Cancer retrograde since January 5th. Just turned forward on Sunday and is now moving forward in Cancer for the third time. And again, just like Saturn moving through gate 22 for the third time, Mars, third time through Cancer, this is where we really may be able to access part of the information or the lessons or
Hmm.
the lack of clarity. We can move beyond that. Mars is not so comfortable in the sign of the home, family, mother, and the moon
Yeah.
and emotionality of that. Again, this is just adding even more layers of emotional texture to the current framework right now. But the fact that he's moving forward, this energy going somewhere, and when he does that, he's going to be trining Saturn for the third time. And I think that that'll be an important element to the story, that the restructuring, Saturn's offing and emotional expression, having Mars trine there is bringing that energy, this movement we're talking
Yeah.
about, moving forward into what's next, into this growth and development that's possible in our interrelationship communication.
And in gate 53, of
Yeah, in gate
course. There
53,
it is.
the gate of beginnings.
Right.
This is the pressure to start a new cycle of maturation, a new cycle of development. There are beginnings, middles, and ends to everything, and so Mars bringing that energy that we really have a possible new cycle of emotional truth, integrity, and expression. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
mean to cut you off,
Oh
but
no.
I was just seeing the connection between Pisces and
Mhm.
Mars in 53 finally moving forward
Mhm.
in this, when you said the limitless possibilities that are available, all of these planet placements and certainly Saturn there in Pisces, bringing a new an opportunity to create a new, more expanded structure, and 53 in Mars, now the power to actually do it,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
pressure to
Yeah.
actually do it
Yeah.
instead of just thinking about it, instead of being stuck in the, idea phase or the victim phase or wherever you're at. Now there's forward movement in the progression of a new cycle.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I think, yeah, so bringing the importance to this particular moment in time, the transits are very supportive for this growth and
Mm-hmm.
development and new cycle that's being offered. And to mention Venus, she's in Aries right now, which is also not her favorite sign. I
Yeah.
mean, she loves love, beauty, harmony, tranquility, and being in the sign of the god of war. Um, could be a little spicy, is how I
Yeah.
might call it.
Yeah.
She's a little spicy in Aries. But she also does bring this idea of the feminine warrior and
Mm-hmm.
the feminine archetype. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that too, in our greater collective atmosphere, can be so important right now as we're moving
So
away from this
supportive.
paternalistic, seven centered history
Right.
into the future.
It can show the valorous nature of the divine dark feminine.
Hmm.
It can show 21 in Venus, to, like you said, given this collective environment, and Mars in Cancer in her home.
Hmm.
I mean, they've swapped places a little bit. And so it's time for if you can look at this symbolically, it could be a time for the masculine, the immature masculine that Mars has always been identified with, to have some maturity and development, and for the divine feminine that has been in a more submissive phase to show her power and prowess now
Hmm.
through this what's possible emotionally. So, you know, the I think that 21 in Venus, let's see if I can describe what's coming through, but in this Piscean backup that's there, it feels like our emotional truth gets to be commanded
Hmm.
for.
Hmm.
And 53 in Mars, or Mars, excuse me, in 53 in Cancer is like, okay, well, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Like, it's brave enough
Yeah,
now
right.
to, okay, to support and uplift that emotional truth that is, and well, has been identified as feminine. um,
Mhm.
so it's a cool little swap of the archetypes.
Well, and what's fun about Mars moving forward too, but just I guess Mars in general in Cancer has the tendency to be either passive aggressive
Hmm.
or also extremely emotionally reactive.
Yeah.
And I think that would be part of our encouragement as we go through this
Yeah.
very watery lunar cycle is again, maybe instead of having that immediate emotional reaction,
Hmm.
just to regulate, to check
Yeah.
in, do the body scan, and be curious about why we're feeling this way.
Right.
Is this
Why is the
coming?
chemistry here?
Right. Is it coming from maybe an old wound from the past that
Hmm.
we haven't quite had our cathartic process to move through? Maybe it's an invitation for that right now,
Hmm.
or just to use our regulation tools to center ourselves
Right.
so that we can be available to offer our high sense of higher self or our sense of truth in that sense to the other in that situation.
And I want to also say, in that same vein, to allow the other side of the coin to exist.
Mhm.
The 22 in Saturn says it's not time now. It says I'm coming into process now
Mhm.
in one of the, binaries of what's available to it. So when we say so that we can be available to others, I also want to offer that you can also just be with it and not have to be with another in any higher shape or form, but to be with yourself
Mhm.
and to advocate for this is a time for me to be with myself in my emotional truth, whatever that is at the moment, whether it not be true wholly,
Mhm.
but true now in this moment,
Right.
to allow that to exist and to, like you said, ask the chemistry, to be curious about what that anger, hurt, resentment,
Mhm.
whatever that thing is that's coming up, but to be wholly with it for yourself.
Mhm.
um not trying to run from it, not, I know that I offer a lot of somatic tools, but not even to pick up a tool to get it to go away, but to be with it
Yeah.
until it's time to pick up the tool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just makes me feel that word presence. You know,
Yeah,
having
yeah.
presence right now amidst these somewhat turbulent astrological frequencies
Mm-hmm.
has true power.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we can definitely say about the solar plexus center for all of us is that it is focused on growth, development, and evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in a time of that right now. And
Yeah.
so I think that's where that, yeah, being curious to where am I growing? How am I evolving out of my past into my future
Right.
with my integrity, my inspiration, and creativity is really fertile soil right now.
Yeah. And I think these are the activities that will promote your mental well-being in the coming days of change.
Hmm.
This is the skill to learn that we as human beings, if you look back in our history, we've always been evolving or learning something, whether it be through planting or animal husbandry or mathematics or literature or art, or we've always been developing some part of our psyche. Well, right now, we who are alive are developing our emotional intelligence, that
Hmm.
part of our psyche. And so these opportunities are going to continue to present themselves, and this skill of presence,
Hmm.
not trying to change it, even though a spectrum is available to us and one feels better than the other, the equanimity to stay in both
Hmm.
and see what they both have to say.
Yeah. Hmm.
That is the skill that is going to allow us to move forward in the coming days, months, years as an evolved human.
Yeah, yeah, I think that, and again, in the collective world, we will see more fear, self-doubt, and
That's
insecurity.
right.
But those are now in this mindset can be a mental framework simply to have that inner conversation with ourselves,
That's right.
to be present. Our body's wisdom will provide the answers for what
Right.
we need to do. Our authority will show us our next foot forward in that sense. But being present right now has real power for all of us.
Yeah, it does. So, through the uncomfortability,
Yeah.
through the, oh my gosh, I shouldn't feel this way. Well, why shouldn't you feel that way? It's not that you shouldn't feel that way, it's that the reaction from feeling that way is harmful to others. So when we don't react, when we allow ourselves to be present, we can feel this way.
Hmm.
So it's just the opportunity to continue to revisit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well,
Yeah. That felt good.
okay. Well, thank you all so much for being us. Oh, we also want to invite you to our course and our live call.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. We are doing the AWAKEN course, the
Hmm.
beginning of our three-part series called OM, Awaken, Unfold, and Mastery, which will take you into your design, embodied design, an experience of being immersed in your cells, into Unfold, which are the places where you've closed your heart, and we're going to reopen that, and into Mastery, where you're going to be able to integrate yourself abundantly through your language and your actions into the world around you. Well, we have a call that's going to go a little bit deeper into that on
Hmm.
March 5th at 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And we will put the link to that here. You can find it on our page at emergebydesign.net. And the course itself starts on March 18th, and it will be for 9 weeks. And you will receive a Living Your Design certification, IHDAS completed Living Your Design course. And this is for people who, well, you're going to hear more about it, but we would prefer that you have some experience, although brand new people will greatly benefit from this as
Hmm.
well. But we love the people who are a bit confused and do have some experience and maybe even have taken a Living Your Design course before, because we really, like my defined ego, really likes to prove that this embodiment is a way that can really help you use this, get into this experiment in a way that impacts your life fast
Yeah.
and deep.
Yeah. Embodiment is the most important aspect of what we'll be offering. The tools, the tips, logical, practical explanations on how we can practice this in real time so that we can navigate, again, emotional turbulence with ease and comfort and
Hmm.
self-love.
And connection.
Connection. Yeah.
So thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye for now.
See you next time.